How to read a teleprompter is one of those things. It just takes a few tips and tricks to get really good at it, of course, and then some practice. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a handful of tips on reading a teleprompter, whether it's on your laptop, on your cell phone, or maybe you're in a newsroom at a local TV station working there, or maybe you're in high school and you're reading a teleprompter at your high school news station. Okay, so when you're reading a teleprompter, write it in words that you can say, words that flow from your mouth. Now, sometimes you're in a situation where a producer or a speechwriter is going to write your script. You always want to change that script into words that flow from your mouth. What you say should have like a rhythm and a pace to it. You're the only one that can really find your natural delivery and your natural rhythm. For me, sometimes I'm going to delete a couple words. Sometimes I'm going to add a couple words. Sometimes I'm going to take out a word. I cannot say the word brewery on a teleprompter, which means if the word brewery is in a script, I have to position it where it's the last word I say. So you have authority to go in and take a paragraph and write it into words that you can say, as long as you're not writing it wrong. The other thing is, you see these little dots? First of all, Gen X loves the ellipses. But secondly, ... is phenomenally beneficial when reading and writing for teleprompter, because you can't see a comma as easily as you can see the ... So it would sound like this. When you're reading a teleprompter, write it in words that you can say, that flow from your mouth. That's how I would like to deliver that paragraph. And so that's why I put the ellipses where I put. Read your content out loud, because reading it in your head is so different than reading it out loud. Remember reading out loud in school? Horrifying. Okay, so in this paragraph, I just want to illustrate the importance of reading it out loud. Many times I'll have a script for a client, or, when I was in the newsroom and I was a producer and the anchors would sit down, they would read it quietly to themselves. You do not want to do that. You always want to read it out loud. And in fact, when I was in the newsroom, it was recommended reading it out loud 3 times. This is going to help you get used to how it flows through your diaphragm, through your voice, through your mouth. And when you have to swallow spit, when you have to breathe, like all of that matters. And it's easy when you're reading it in your head to not have to think about, when am I going to swallow the spit that's accumulating right now? Okay. The other thing is, you'll notice I use these little asterisks right here. Those little tips and tricks on the teleprompter are great for you if you want to really emphasize something. Horrifying. You want to spell out words that you don't know easily. For example, Venetian blinds. Now, for me, if I saw Venetian, I would make sure it was capitalized, and I would probably capitalize blinds to know that those 2 words go together. But for other folks, if you're reading it out loud and that word Venetian keeps getting you and you stumble when you get to it, write it out. And you don't have to write it out the way it would be in the dictionary. You write it out in the way that you see it and immediately know how to say it. Venetian blinds. I would probably capitalize blinds there just so I know the words are together. Your script on your teleprompter doesn't have to make sense to anyone else but you. And you have the authority to ask for the things that you need. In this example, I also hit enter after example, so Venetian was all in one word, because it would have been broken up for spacing. A lot of times, I've worked with CEOs, presidential candidates. I've worked with so many people. I ran a teleprompter for the Vice President of the United States. Okay. The people reading the prompter feel like they don't have the authority to ask to change it. This prompter is your tool. So if it needs to slow down, you tell the teleprompter operator to slow down. If there needs to be a space, if there needs to be something bolded, if there needs to be something capitalized, all of this is within your own authority to ask for these things. And you should. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do a good job, you're the only one getting blamed. Okay, another thing that trip people up, numbers. So if you have 4,000 followers, you could write it out like that. It may be easier to write it out 4,000 4,500 rather than just the number 4,500. Most people don't write just the number with the comma because that can get them unexpectedly. Most people prefer 4,500 if they were going to write out the word 4,500. Again, another common way is 4-1000. It shouldn't have or there, 500. So proofreading is on you. Clearly that or would have caught me up if I was reading it for the first time, which is why you practice ahead of time so you can catch mistakes and or you know what it's supposed to say. You know it's not supposed to say 4,000 or 500, right? But most people are going to write words 4,500 just like that. I hope that helps.